Welcome to Sales Talk for CEOs. I'm glad you're here. I'll be interviewing CEOs who have successfully scaled their B2B sales organization. In each episode, I'll start by uncovering the sales background of each CEO, dig into the strategies they use to build their sales organization, and wrap it up with what the future holds. We'll cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of scaling a sales organization. I'm your host, Alice Hyman. It's a pleasure to have Angela Saunders on the show today because she heads another mission-driven company. And you know, I just love it when we have the CEOs who are so passionate about what they do and about what they bring to the world. So Angela is with Vorum, and she has been the CEO for about 2 years now. But this company was founded before she was even born. And we're going to find out a little bit more about that in just a minute. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you so much, Alice. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I've just really been excited to join you and to chat a little bit about Vorum and what we do. And I hope that everyone who's listening can learn a little bit about our journey and maybe see some of their own journey through what we've learned.
Absolutely. And I think we should just start right there. Like, tell us, what does Vorum do? And how did it begin? And why is the work that you do so important? And why are you so passionate about it?
Well, Vorum is a company based out of Vancouver, BC, but we're really a global company. And the work that we do is to provide digital workflow solutions worldwide for the design and manufacture of custom prosthetics and orthotics. So that means that we work with clinics, with hospitals, with individuals all over the world, and have done so throughout our 33-year history. Now, you might say 33 years, that's an awful long time to be working with digital solutions in this space, and it wasn't always easy. My father actually started Vorum back in 1989 with a passion for looking at industries where people were so hands-on and where there was an artisanship to their craft, and understanding how can we create a better experience for the patients that still allows for that artisan feel from the practitioner standpoint, and yet delivers a better outcome for the patients themselves. And so his project, or his theory, was that he could design, along with some of his colleagues, a software that would enable practitioners to spend more time with their patients and less time behind the scenes, and deliver an even better patient experience and better clinical outcomes because of that work that they had done.
So we're talking about people who have lost a limb or have somehow, had an accident or maybe been in a war or something that really impaired their ability to move in the same way, or even completely removed part of their body. And the practitioners who have to help them to navigate in the world now, right? I mean, that's big stuff. We have people who can live a completely normal life because these practitioners are able to build customized prosthetics that fit them perfectly, and with the help of your software.
Exactly. And I guess you explaining that helped me to dive back a little bit, because we live in this very niche world where, we're working with prosthetics and orthotics, these terms every day. But for the listener who's leaning in, the term prosthetic refers to the type of device that would actually replace something that is missing. So say you had a family member who lost a limb, or a family member who who had a limb that didn't fully form from birth, they would require either a below knee or below hip prosthetic, or maybe an upper limb prosthetic. And then an orthotic is something that's designed to support what's already there in the body. So you might be more familiar with a custom foot orthotic, bless you, or you might be familiar with an ankle foot orthosis or even a spinal orthotics. So for someone who deals with any kind of spinal curvature in their body that needs to be corrected, they might use a spinal brace to be able to correct that curvature. So there's lots of different applications. We talk about our solutions as serving the population from head to toe, and it's very much that way. Every person has a different presentation of what they need from their practitioner, and it's why we talk so much about the importance of creating devices that are custom, that support that individual in their health journey. And they require something that is unique to them, and also that's personal to them, because for them, there's such a strong identity with this supportive or replacement device, because it's something that's going to enable them to have a better quality of life.
Right. We want them to not only be comfortable and have it be useful, but for them to feel good about it and have confidence in their body because they have this prosthetic. So I think sometimes people just don't realize, and many of us know someone who has lost a limb or a portion of a limb. And, if we have never had that experience ourselves, it's hard to even imagine. But these practitioners who are able to use the software to bring these really custom experiences to their patients, it truly is amazing. And I know why you love it so much. So, thanks for sharing all of that with us. And let's talk about just how is it that you became the CEO of this company and how you built sales. Well, it was already there, but how you're changing sales and growing the company further. Now, knowing that your dad started the company, just give us kind of the short history of how it was founded, but then how you came into the company and how it is that you became the CEO.
Sure, Alice. Yeah. So my dad, as I mentioned, had this vision for wanting to be able to take this workflow and to improve the quality of the devices for patients worldwide.
Right.
And so he started out with this mission and actually stumbled into prosthetics and orthotics by way of custom footwear. That was sort of the first avenue that Vorum took in its business and in its tenure. And as he built relationships throughout the world, slowly but surely, he was able to build trust with all of these different players in the orthotics and prosthetics industry throughout the years. Because, for people that work so much with their hands, it's really hard to translate their work, their specific workflow into what they could see digitally. So it does require this immense level of trust, not only in the quality of the outcomes, but in the provider of that technology. And so my dad really sought to build those trusted relationships over time. Now, the O&P industry in particular is based in family business. There's a lot of different multi-generational family businesses in O&P. And so
O&P is?
O&P is orthotics and prosthetics. Yes. I'm going to be saying that a lot throughout. So anytime I'm speaking about the O&P industry, it relates to the orthotics and prosthetics industry. And so when my dad was looking to figure out how to sort of introduce new people to these trusted relationships, it would always take a certain amount of time to actually continue to build that trust. And Vorum was effective in its growth because of the concerted efforts over its history to continue to introduce new people and for my dad to continue to introduce these trusted relationships and help to build the trust over time. I was lucky enough to join Vorum almost a decade ago now, and started out in a few different roles at Vorum on the implementation and training side, working with our development team, and finally into working with our trusted partners worldwide. And part of the reason why I was able to step into that trusted partners role was, of course, the legacy that had been built to that time, but there was already this level of trust in that relationship, in the family relationship, in an understanding of this unique and complicated and special industry that we worked in. And so I was already equipped to speak the language that the practitioners were speaking, and help them to translate their workflows into our digital tools, whether it was scanning, designing, or manufacturing their final device. So from there, it was just a growth perspective of how do we build those continued trusted partnership relationships that elevated my position to be able to serve our company better, and eventually step into the CEO role.
So before you got there, obviously, because the company has been there 33 years, there was some sales, right? There was some sales organization and there was some sales going on. So tell us about what, kind of how the sales evolved there. I'm sure when the company was young, your dad did all of the selling, and that's very common in founder-led companies. But I'm sure soon after that, he started building a sales team. And when you came into the company, what was there in terms of sales 10 years ago?
Yeah. Well, I think my dad would fondly refer to those years as the ride the tiger years. So, where you haven't really thought about who your core customer might be, you're kind of just thinking, hey, I have this amazing solution. I wonder who would buy it. Yeah. And there was very much this engineering core to everything that Vorum was doing, in that we wanted to provide not just a solution, but that we would provide a custom solution. So someone would come back and say, hey, I have this really complicated custom shoe design that I would like to make, for someone with a diabetic foot. Could your software do that? And my dad or his colleague who was also helping him with sales at the time would go, sure, we can do that. And then it would come back inside the company and go, quick, we've really got to think on our feet and figure out how we can solve this practitioner's problem, and then see how we can scale it from there. So there was it was really a force of, intuition and then passion on an innovative scale that brought our products to a level which we were addressing some of the most complex problems in our industry, but it wasn't taking us to the scale that it really needed to take us, right? Because when you're looking at things from a reactionary standpoint, you may only be getting one side of the story, but you're not necessarily thinking about how you can then adapt those solutions more broadly across a global scale, right?
Well, when everything's custom,
yeah,
it's a one-off, and it's a reaction versus being proactive. It is very hard to scale, as you found out. So you start to think as a leader, okay, if one company needed this very special orthotic shoe, maybe there's others, and maybe we build a process around that and how we can deliver that versus just doing one-offs. And it is a big change in companies when you go from that kind of entrepreneurial, enthusiastic selling to a more formalized approach where it's repeatable and you can start to scale it.
That's right. That's right. You kind of start to humble yourselves a bit because all of a sudden you've got a technology team that's coming to you and going, listen, now we have 20, 30 products are we going to support all of these at the same time and iterate on them and grow on them? And, we are still, peeling back the layers on our product line and figuring out how can we simplify and better support the future developments that we want to get to.
Yeah.
But what we learned in the meantime was that, as interesting and as complicated as these major challenges were to solve, the core of our solution, our design software, was really easily adaptable to a lot of different types of devices. So whether you were designing a prosthetic device or an orthotic device, you could use the same interface and work across all of those. So we started to think about how we could scale the design and the manufacturing of each of those devices within the types of products that we already had. But then the next is how the next step is how we figure out, okay, we've got the technology. We think that's really strong, but we are not practitioners ourselves. We are not prosthetists or orthotists. We are not the people that are providing that level of patient care, right? So how do we build trust, not just with the users of our solutions, but also with their customer, who's really the patient? And that's when we started to take a look at, okay, who can we partner with to be able to add that additional level of value that will be able to create this hub and spoke for us to be able to scale. And we saw that in our clinical partners, those people who started with us, early on in our development of Vorum and all of our solutions, and who evolved with us over time and said, hey, listen, we think this could be really great, not just for us, but for the broader market.
Nice. So where was it when you came in as CEO? So explain what your sales organization looked like at that time, and then how you've been molding and shaping it and changing it.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because before I was in the CEO role, I was actually in the head of sales and marketing role at Vorum. And it was when I stepped into that role that I started to very fiercely advocate for a sales growth plan that centered around our core customer, which is our preferred partner. And the idea behind it was we actually already have these partnerships that we hadn't really been serving as partners. We'd really been looking at them as, wow, isn't it so great that these customers still want to buy from us and they also want to sell for us? How lucky are we? And we were thinking of it from a perspective of, oh, this is so nice to have, as opposed to what if we put some intentional proactive energy into these relationships? What kind of growth could we see? And what kind of platform could we help establish for those partners in the regions that they serve so that they not only leverage their own brand's credibility, but ours as well? And once we started to take a look at that approach, it really rocked our whole world, right? Because you go from putting your brand first to actually putting someone else's brand that you trust first and figuring out how to back them up.
Well, who were you thinking of as your core customer prior to that? Did you think of the end user as your core customer? Or what was the thinking around that?
Yeah, we really had, I think, honestly, when we profiled our core customer to start with, we had about 5 different core customers that we felt like we were serving. We were serving a hospital customer. We were serving a CFAB customer, CFAB is what we call our central fabricators. So those entities that might receive scans or casts, basically patient files from anywhere in their region, and then create the final custom device for another company or for another practitioner. And then on we went. And so we felt like we were serving all these different potential
I
customers.
see.
And in that sense, it became a little convoluted to figure out where we needed to put our efforts in terms of our pricing strategy, in terms of our product strategy, even in terms of which geographies we would start to grow from.
Wow. Yeah, so that's great that you took the time to look at that and really start to think about it. So when you did look at all of those different entities that you were trying to serve and maybe not really focusing on any one of them, how is it that you came to the conclusion that, oh, these particular partners are the ones we need to focus on?
Well, for us, it's kind of became really obvious when we started to hear a little bit more clearly what our partners were asking of us.
Okay.
Because we were always getting different types of feedback from all the different stakeholders in our market. But when we started to listen closely to those customers who were truly our partners, what we realized is that they were not just leveraging the tools that we'd created for them, but they were also thinking beyond themselves. They were thinking not just about the impact that their organization would have in their market, but thinking about how they could take that to a different level or to a different scale. And by listening to that feedback, it helped us to draw upon, okay, so we have this trusted relationship in Japan. We have this trusted relationship in Germany, this trusted relationship in the US. What do they all have in common? And we started to piece together that core customer profile, which was really this value-added reseller. And the value add was their clinical perspective, right?
Yes.
So hearing them articulate with such trust to us what their clinical perspective was, what they felt their secret sauce was, and know exactly that their secret sauce matched with our solutions so well, we knew that they had a key way to differentiate themselves from any other player in the market. And we went, that's it. That's the way that we are going to win in this space. And not only that, but be head and shoulders above any kind of competitive entity, because we are leveraging the strengths of our partner as well as us to deliver a better experience for the end user.
So how did you have to restructure your sales organization to meet that once you figured it out?
Oh, that was we're still going through it, honestly, Alice, because it's a paradigm shift. We had been selling and addressing the market in one way for such a long time, and everyone saw us as being a solution for everyone, which is what we want to be. But now we're trying to leverage and put a pedestal underneath our partners so that they can have the level of presence that we believe they can have in their markets. And internally, it meant helping not only sales, but also support, implementation, product, technology, really everyone within our company think about our core customer differently. It required everyone internally to sit down and go through that same process that we had done at the leadership team level to understand and see the value that we could be providing, how much faster we could be getting to our big, hairy, audacious goal. Someday we want to say that every second, somewhere in the world, a patient is fitted with a custom device made using Vorum technology. And we know that if we're going to get there, we have to be able to scale. So doing that exercise with the team took us one step of the journey, but it's still a learning process as we go through this.
That is a big goal. Go ahead and repeat that for the audience.
Yes. So every second, somewhere in the world, a patient is fitted with a custom device made using Vorum technology.
Wow.
And today, we can proudly say that currently every 60 seconds, there is a fitting with a custom device made using our technology.
That's amazing. And that is a great goal to work towards. And I love that you spent the time to figure out who your core audience was. And then I love that you didn't just shift sales, you had a mindset shift inside your entire organization so that you could support, right, in a different way than you have ever supported them before. So you may have had some sellers who were selling direct, some to hospitals, some to this, group, some to that group, right? And now I know that you're starting to form around these very strategic partners to help them accomplish their goals. And I know you're building it, but tell me what it is that you're building out. So you obviously had to probably make some changes. I mean, some people probably left, and we always hate it when that happens, but sometimes it's a good thing. But so you've been making some changes, some harder than others, and now you're moving in a direction. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's hard, right? Because when you have people that are in an organization and it goes through such a massive change as we have had with aligning on a new type of core customer, not everyone is going to fit that new journey. So it's a tough line to walk, right. But at the same time, that those people that are going to fit somewhere else in the world in another journey, and they're going to find a better space for them. So we learned from going through this process, from the different challenges that we had, the different ways that problems were maybe expressed, who was going to really step up and continue on this journey with us, and who might decide to take another direction. But what we've done so far is we've really started to iron out what our preferred partner looks like. So have a very clear definition of what that profile is. And you said it very well. It's not just getting that alignment in our sales team, but also getting that alignment across the company. And it helped us to start to build out, what kinds of specific services would this partner need? What would they be needing from support? What would they be needing from implementation? And it was through designing that whole process that we recognized and realized that we could actually brand this whole approach that we were bringing to the market. And so now our brand promise for our partner, and that the partner can eventually bring to their end customer, is that we will design your sure path to success for you. And you can see your sure path to success realized with our solution within 1 year. So that starts right from the get-go with understanding what goals, whether a partner or an end user might have with adopting our solution, and then flows through the sales process, the operations process, right into customer support, and loops all the way back to the account manager to make sure that we are doing right by the customer, by the partner, and getting them to achieve that sure path to success.
So when you make a big change like this, not only do you have to look internally, you have to worry about the external view of this too, because now some of the people you had been selling to and had been serving, you're going to say, hey, we're going to serve you in a different way now. We're going to serve you through a partner, and they may or may not like that. And some of the partners, or many, maybe even most of the partners you worked with, were like, you're going to do what? Because you had never given them that kind of focus before.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and you're right. It's not as easy as it may sound. It seemed like we had this sort of perfect plan of how we wanted to roll everything out, but not everyone was ready to jive with what we had in store. And so we've got a number of partners that are interested and are sort of dipping their toes into the water and seeing what they might be able to do. And part of that process is really where SurePath comes in so well, because we know that our partner, our preferred partner, is going to have some kind of business goal that they want to achieve. with our solution. So defining what that business goal is and then walking them through a step-by-step process of how we and they are going to achieve that goal together. It's a pretty powerful trust that you can build through that relationship. And it means something not only to the decision maker, not only to the person that's going to sign the ink on whatever deal we do. It means something also to the practitioner, to the technician. It means something to the patient as well, because they know that they're going to have a better outcome. The other piece that's interesting is we actually found a lot of people in the marketplace going, oh, thank God, you guys are finally partnering with some clinicians in the space. It's something that we've wanted from you for some time, right? And I think some people were surprised maybe by the approach, maybe wondered why we didn't try to bring clinicians inside our organization. But what we found was, just as I was telling you earlier, Alice, our partners already have that strength in the products that they bring to the wider market and their clinical knowledge. Why would we step on their toes to try and provide that? Why not just enhance what they're able to provide by partnering our technology with their clinical prowess and making that work for the broader market?
It definitely makes sense, but I'm sure it was hard to convince some people, especially in the beginning, right? So you've just been doing this for a couple of years now, and you're really, like you said, still just in the throes of it, trying to find the right type of sales team and sales leaders to lead this charge for you, and helping your partners understand why you're so interested in their success, right? There may be a little bit of them wondering, but once they do get to know you and trust you, and some of them already do, then they can see exactly why you're interested in their success.
Yeah, and I think what was really, in a way, emphasizing this whole point for us was the fact that when the whole world was consumed by this global pandemic, patients still needed devices.
Right.
There were still entities that needed our support. And yet our industry is such that everyone is so used to having this relationship that's built face to face, right? Because practitioners are seeing their patients in person. So our partners all of a sudden took this step out into the spotlight going, hey, we are here. We are in your neighborhood. We can come and see you. We can come and, show you a scanner, show you a non-contact way of still capturing patient data and then being able to work with it. It just created this other boost for our partners in their geographies so that they can have that credibility of owning their own space. So for those partners who were maybe a little hesitant to take that step forward, I really do think that the pandemic actually helped them to realize, okay, we can really serve this market, and we know that we have Vorum just a phone call away. They might be on the other side of the world, but they're always listening, and they can support us while we can support these end users firsthand.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of power in that. So that's why it's working, obviously, right? So as we close here, if you were to give advice to a CEO, a rather new CEO even maybe, who's come into an organization and sees the way sales is set up, recognizes, okay, and you were running sales before, so you saw this change coming, you knew that it was going to have to happen. But it's a lot of work. And as a CEO, we have many things to do. And we do have sales leaders in place some of the time to help us get these things accomplished. But it was really a mindset change, as we said, for your entire organization. So what are some of the things you did that really helped you get everybody on board to make this change and to keep it moving in a positive direction? And have everybody really believing that this was the right way to do it and that this change was needed?
Yeah, so I think the very first thing that I would say is, don't take the great things for granted. Because I think sometimes, especially in sales, when something drops from the sky, we're so quick to go, oh my gosh, what a great win. And that we forget sometimes to dive into, okay, why was that a win? And how can we have more of those quick and easy wins? You know, there's a lot that can be mined from those wins that seem to come out of nowhere, because they don't just come out of nowhere. They've come for some reason. So understanding why great things happen can be a really powerful tool for helping you unlock that potential that may be just lurking behind whatever other sales metrics you're measuring. I think we spend a lot of time, you know, analyzing losses and looking at the reasons why we're maybe not as competitive. But, you know, part of what allowed us to really navigate and grow in such a way was looking at what was working and what wins we were having and why those wins were easier than others. So I would say don't take the great things for granted.
Yeah, I'm going to just pause you there for a minute, because I think this is so true. And so many companies are so focused on analyzing all the deals they lost, as you mentioned. I really think that analyzing wins is more important. Now, sure, analyze some of the losses and know why you're losing, because if there's a reason that keeps coming up, we definitely have something to fix. But it's so much more important to stop and analyze why you won. Why did that happen? Why was that great? Why was it easy? Right? And when we do that, we see these commonalities, right? And we see that, oh my gosh, that's something we can do more of. So I urge every CEO out there to direct their team to really analyze those wins and make sure you're collecting great information from those wins to help propel your sales and make things even better. All right, what's the next thing?
And then the other thing that I would say is, you know, it's one thing to bring your sales team along in the process and the journey if you're going to change something about that process. But there's something that is so critical about actually bringing the rest of the stakeholders in your organization along too. We just had a monthly town hall yesterday, actually, and I encouraged one of our sales team members to present our key sales process at the town hall. And when I tell you the feedback that we got from technology, from support, from implementation, that said, oh my gosh, just this view of the key sales process has helped me unlock that partner buying journey and that customer buying journey in a different way than I had before. And I think, again, sometimes we think so much in organizations that, okay, the sales process is for sales and the operations process is for operations. And yet I tell you, I mean, our company is a fairly small company, but at the same time, you know, that context, just sharing that context across the organization just can explode your potential in such a way that you might not realize it. And I'm so buoyed by the energy of that conversation yesterday and thinking to myself, why didn't we do this sooner? You know?
So important, I think, because we do get into our little tunnel vision. We're in a certain department. We tend to get siloed, right? But we all need to understand why we do what we do and how each department works so that we can support each other. Because in the end, it's all about the customer experience.
Yes.
And it takes a whole company to make up a great customer experience, not just sales. There's no one department that can do it on their own. And so that critical communication about what we're doing and why we're doing it, how we do it, and how our customers feel about it is so important. And I think you're right. We just don't think about communicating it, or if we do, we just don't do it often enough. And so people forget, and then they get back in their little silos, and then you start hearing, oh, you know, this department and that department, and they complain about each other instead of understanding things in a bigger way and really being able to work together.
Exactly. I mean, you know, we're all trying to work with each other to make something greater than what we could do as individuals.
Yes.
If we can bring everyone into that same journey and understand the customer's journey equally, you know, then we can get things done even faster and in a better experience for that customer or partner.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with me and talk to our audience. The CEOs who listen and all of the people who support CEOs that listen love to hear the stories of how other CEOs are doing things. And I think it just really helps when we all share. And we don't just talk about all the good things, but we also share the things that didn't work so well. That's always helpful too. So thank you for being on the show with me today.
Oh, thank you, Alice. It was such a joy to spend some time with you and with your listening audience. And I can't wait to learn from other CEOs out there and see if I can pick up some new things to bring back to Voron myself.
Thanks for tuning in to Sales Talk for CEOs. You can find me at alicehyman.com. Be sure and connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know that you heard the show. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, write a review, and share the show with another CEO.